The cold metal floor pressed against Yuna's bare feet, a constant reminder of her impending doom. The detention chamber hummed with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional distant echo of mechanical systems. She was a prisoner, not just of this room, but of an entire civilization that feared knowledge more than death. Her emerald-scaled skin reflected the dim blue light, creating a soft shimmer that contrasted with the stark gray walls. Yuna remembered the moment everything changed, the day she discovered the ancient data crystal hidden deep within the university's restricted archives. What seemed like a simple research project had transformed into a nightmare that would cost her everything. The Confederation's judicial system worked with ruthless efficiency. Her trial had lasted barely 3 standard hours. No witnesses were called, no real defense allowed. The Elder Council had made their decision before she even entered the chamber. Treason, they called it. Dangerous speculation, they claimed. But Yuna knew the truth was far more complex. Her research had uncovered something profound, evidence that challenged everything her people believed about their own history. The migration patterns of ancient civilizations, the hidden connections between seemingly unrelated star systems, the subtle manipulation of historical records all pointed to a truth that powerful leaders wanted to remain buried. A small robotic guard rolled into the chamber, its metallic body reflecting the blue light. Its single optical sensor scanned Yuna from head to toe, checking her restraints and monitoring her vital signs. She didn't move. There was no point in resisting anymore. Tomorrow at dawn, she would face public execution. The traditional method was precise and brutal, a quantum blade that would slice through her neck in a millisecond, ensuring instant death while displaying maximum public spectacle. Her body would be displayed as a warning to others who might dare to challenge the established narrative. Yuna closed her eyes, remembering her research. The data crystal she had found contained fragments of star charts and communication logs that suggested a completely different understanding of galactic history. Humans, often considered a primitive and insignificant species, appeared in unexpected places, with technological capabilities far beyond what official records claimed. The chamber's temperature dropped slightly, a standard procedure to keep prisoners in a state of controlled discomfort. Yuna's mind drifted to her colleagues, to the researchers who had warned her about pursuing this line of investigation. Some secrets are better left undiscovered, they had said. But she couldn't stop. The truth was too important. Her family would be marked as traitors. Her research would be erased. Everything she had worked for would be destroyed, as if she had never existed. The Confederation was skilled at eliminating inconvenient narratives, at creating a history that suited its political needs. The robotic guard beeped softly, indicating the end of its monitoring cycle. It rolled back to its designated charging station, leaving Yuna alone with her thoughts. Outside the small window, she could see the massive cityscape of her homeworld, millions of beings going about their lives, completely unaware of the fundamental lies that shaped their understanding of existence. She wondered if anyone would remember her. Would her research survive, hidden in some obscure database? Or would it be completely purged, another inconvenient truth eliminated by those in power? As the hours passed, Yuna prepared herself mentally. She would face her execution with dignity. Her final act of rebellion would be to meet death without fear, knowing that the seeds of truth she had planted might someday grow, might someday challenge the system that sought to silence her. The blue light continued to pulse softly, marking the slow passage of time. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, she would become a memory, a warning, a sacrifice to a system that feared nothing more than the power of genuine understanding. The research facility stood like a forgotten monument, its metal walls holding secrets that could reshape everything. Yuna's discovery began 3 years earlier, when she first touched the ancient data crystal hidden deep in the university's most restricted archive. The crystal was small, no bigger than a human thumb, but its contents were explosive. Initial scans revealed complex data patterns that didn't match any known galactic civilization's communication protocols. Most researchers would have dismissed it, but Yuna saw something different. Her late nights were filled with decoding, her fingers moving rapidly across holographic interfaces. Complex algorithms broke down layer after layer of encrypted information. Each breakthrough made her heart race with excitement and fear. The migration patterns suggested something radical, humans were not a young, insignificant species as everyone believed. Instead, they appeared to be far older, with technological capabilities that predated most known civilizations. Fragments of star charts showed human settlements in regions that official records claimed were uninhabited for millions of years. Colleagues warned her. "Some questions are dangerous," Professor Kimura had said, his eyes filled with a mixture of concern and warning. Not all knowledge is meant to be discovered. But Yuna couldn't stop. Her scientific curiosity burned brighter than institutional fear. She cross-referenced the crystal's data with geological surveys, communication logs, and ancient archaeological records. Slowly, a different narrative emerged. Humans seemed to have a hidden history of strategic migration, leaving subtle technological markers across multiple star systems. One particular star cluster caught her attention. The data suggested humans had established complex research stations centuries before other known civilizations had developed interstellar travel. These weren't just small outposts, they were sophisticated networks of scientific and exploratory bases. The implications were enormous. If true, this meant human civilization was not a recent development but a carefully managed, strategically planned expansion across galaxies. Someone or something had been guiding human technological development with incredible precision. Yuna's research notebook became a maze of connected theories. Red strings connected holographic projections, creating complex webs of potential historical narratives. Each connection challenged everything the Confederation understood about species development and interstellar evolution. But such knowledge was dangerous. The ruling councils maintained strict control over historical narratives. Any evidence that challenged their established understanding was considered a direct threat to social stability. Researchers who pushed too far often disappeared, their work erased as if they had never existed. Her final breakthrough came during a routine data comparison. A set of communication logs, buried deep in the crystal's encrypted layers, revealed communication protocols that matched no known alien language. They were human, but from a time and technological level that shouldn't have been possible. The night she completed her initial analysis, Yuna knew her life would never be the same. She had uncovered something that could fundamentally change understanding of galactic history. Humans were not a young species struggling to find their place, they were potentially the architects of a much larger, more complex narrative. As dawn broke, casting soft light through her research facility's windows, Yuna realized the weight of her discovery. She wasn't just challenging a historical narrative, she was potentially exposing a conspiracy that stretched across multiple civilizations. Her hands trembled slightly as she saved the final research document. She knew what would happen next. The Confederation's judicial system would not tolerate such a radical reinterpretation of established historical understanding. Outside, the city continued its rhythmic pulse, completely unaware that one researcher's discovery could unravel everything they believed about their place in the universe. Yuna took a deep breath, knowing her path was set. Truth, no matter how dangerous, had to be pursued. The data crystal sat quietly on her desk, its small form holding a revolution waiting to be unleashed. The execution arena was a massive structure of cold metal and dark energy fields, designed to create maximum psychological impact. Thousands of spectators filled the surrounding platforms, waiting to witness another traitor's final moments. Yuna stood motionless on the central platform, her emerald scales reflecting the harsh white execution lights. J1 watched from a hidden observation point, his tactical implants scanning every possible entry and exit route. He had tracked Yuna's research for months, understanding its potential to change everything. The Human Exploration Network had been monitoring her work, recognizing her as something rare, a truth seeker who could potentially crack open generations of controlled information. His quantum disruption device hummed softly against his wrist, a technology so advanced it looked like nothing more than a simple communication bracelet. The Confederation's security systems wouldn't detect it until it was too late. The execution blade began its initial calibration sequence. Mechanical arms extended, revealing a quantum-sharp edge capable of cutting through biological matter with perfect precision. Yuna remained calm, her posture showing no fear despite knowing her death was moments away. Suddenly, everything changed. A series of rapid electromagnetic pulses erupted across the arena. Security systems flickered and died. Guard weapons became useless chunks of metal. In that single moment of confusion, J1 moved. He wasn't tall or muscular by traditional standards. His movements were calculated, almost mathematical. One moment he was hidden, the next he was standing next to Yuna, his hand already neutralizing her restraint systems. "You're not dying today," he whispered in her native language, a skill that surprised her even in this critical moment. The arena descended into chaos. Confederation guards scrambled, their advanced technology suddenly rendered completely ineffective. J1's intervention wasn't just a rescue, it was a precise technological demonstration of human capabilities. Yuna realized quickly that this was more than a simple rescue. The way J1 moved, the technology he carried, the precision of his intervention, this was a carefully planned operation. Humans had been watching her, understanding the potential of her research long before she was captured. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the surrounding pandemonium. "Someone who believes your research matters," J1 responded, guiding her through a series of unexpected escape routes. Their escape wasn't just about survival. It was a message. A demonstration that human technological capabilities were far beyond what the Confederation believed. Every step was calculated, every movement designed to show that this rescue was more than a random act of heroism. Alarms blared. Additional security forces would be converging within minutes. But J1 seemed unconcerned, his movements suggesting he had already calculated multiple escape scenarios. A small transport vehicle materialized seemingly out of nowhere, another demonstration of technological superiority that left Yuna momentarily speechless. As they entered the vehicle, J1's communication systems were already scrambling tracking signals. "Your research changes everything," he told her, plotting their escape route through complex star system corridors. "The Confederation has been hiding fundamental truths about galactic development for generations." Yuna understood now. This wasn't just a rescue. This was the beginning of something much larger. A potential revolution of information, a challenge to established historical narratives that had controlled understanding for centuries. The transport vehicle lifted smoothly, disappearing into the complex traffic patterns of the massive city. From the outside, it looked like any other transport, unremarkable, blending perfectly with thousands of similar vehicles. Inside, two individuals who would potentially reshape galactic understanding sat side by side, their journey just beginning. The Confederation would soon discover that killing a researcher was far easier than killing an idea. The transport vessel moved silently through the complex star system, its advanced camouflage systems making it invisible to standard tracking technologies. Yuna watched J1's hands move across navigation systems that seemed to defy her understanding of current technological capabilities. "Humans have been watching," J1 explained, his voice calm and matter-of-fact. "Your research wasn't just a discovery. It was a key we've been waiting to find." He activated a holographic display that transformed the small vessel's interior. Star charts, communication logs, and complex data streams appeared around them. Yuna realized these weren't just random information points, they were carefully collected pieces of a much larger puzzle. The data revealed something extraordinary. Humans weren't a young species struggling to find their place in the galaxy. They were strategic observers, deliberately maintaining an appearance of technological simplicity while collecting information across multiple civilizations. "We choose to appear less advanced," J1 said, noting her surprised expression. "It allows us to study without interference. Your research proves what we've known for generations." Yuna's mind raced. The data crystal she had discovered wasn't just a random artifact. It was a deliberate planting, a test to see who might uncover the deeper truths about galactic civilization. Their vessel approached a hidden space station, so while camouflaged it looked like nothing more than background radiation and space debris. Advanced shielding technologies made it invisible to standard scanning systems. As they docked, Yuna realized this was more than an escape. This was an invitation to understand a much larger narrative about human existence and galactic development. The station's interior was a marvel of technological design. Researchers from multiple species worked together, their interactions suggesting a level of cooperation that directly contradicted official Confederation narratives. Humans moved among them, their presence both subtle and significant. "Your research threatens existing power structures," an older researcher told her. She was human, but her eyes suggested experiences that went far beyond typical human lifespans. "The Confederation maintains control by limiting historical understanding." Yuna's initial research had been a small thread. Now she was seeing the entire tapestry, a complex network of human influence that had been quietly shaping galactic development for generations. Navigation systems showed human settlement patterns that suggested something radical. Humans weren't just exploring space. They were strategically positioning themselves, collecting information, understanding civilizations from within. J1 explained their approach. "We don't conquer. We understand. Every civilization has potential. Our goal is knowledge, not domination." The station's research center showed evidence of technological capabilities far beyond anything Yuna had imagined. Quantum communication systems, advanced biological adaptation technologies, historical reconstruction algorithms that could trace civilization development with incredible precision. "You're not just a researcher," J1 told her. "You're now part of something much larger. A network that seeks to understand rather than control." Their escape was more than a rescue. It was an invitation to a different way of understanding galactic civilization. Yuna realized her life would never be the same. The research that was supposed to end with her execution was now the beginning of a much larger journey. Outside the station's massive windows, stars moved like silent witnesses. Countless civilizations continued their existence, most unaware of the complex networks of observation and understanding that moved quietly between them. Yuna looked at J1, understanding that her discovery was just the beginning. The universe was far more complex, far more interconnected than anyone had ever imagined. Their journey was just starting. 6 months after their escape, the Confederation's carefully constructed narrative began to crumble. Yuna's research, amplified by human communication networks, spread like a quantum virus through multiple star systems. Information terminals across different planets started displaying fragments of hidden historical data. The carefully maintained illusion of controlled knowledge began to break down. Researchers who had been silenced for generations found their suppressed work suddenly validated. J1 watched the transformation with calculated patience. Humans had been preparing for this moment for centuries. Their strategic positioning wasn't about conquest, it was about evolution of understanding. The first major crack appeared in the Confederation's central communication hub. Encrypted archives began releasing documents that revealed centuries of manipulated historical records. Entire academic institutions found their foundational teachings suddenly challenged. Yuna became an unexpected symbol. Her original research, which was meant to be her death sentence, now represented a revolution of knowledge. Young researchers across multiple species began questioning established narratives, demanding transparency. Political leaders who had maintained strict control found themselves increasingly isolated. Their power depended on maintaining specific historical interpretations. Now, those interpretations were falling apart faster than they could reconstruct them. The Human Research Network moved carefully. They didn't want to create chaos, they wanted controlled, systematic transformation. Each piece of revealed information was strategically timed, designed to create maximum impact with minimal destructive potential. Communication networks that had been tightly controlled suddenly became platforms for open dialogue. Researchers from different species who had been working in isolated environments discovered they were part of a much larger, more complex narrative. J1 explained to Yuna that this was how real change happened. Not through violent revolution, but through systematic exposure of hidden truths. Humans had been playing a long game, generations long. The Confederation's ruling councils met in emergency sessions. Their communication channels, once impenetrable, now leaked critical information. Every attempt to suppress the emerging narrative only made it spread faster. Young academics became the unexpected revolutionaries. Armed with newly revealed historical data, they challenged existing power structures. Universities that had been temples of controlled information now became centers of genuine intellectual exploration. Technological development accelerated. The revelation that humans had been quietly developing advanced technologies meant that other species now approached innovation with new perspectives. Collaboration replaced competition. Star systems that had been isolated began sharing research. Communication barriers that had existed for generations suddenly seemed artificial and unnecessary. The universe began to look smaller, more interconnected. Yuna realized their escape was never just about her survival. It was about creating a moment of transformation. Her research was a key that unlocked something much larger, a new way of understanding collective galactic development. J1's organization continued its quiet work. They weren't conquerors or leaders. They were facilitators of understanding, creating platforms where different species could genuinely communicate and collaborate. The transformation wasn't instant. It would take years, perhaps generations. But the first critical step had been taken. The controlled narrative was broken. Truth, in all its complex and sometimes uncomfortable forms, was now free to be explored. As star systems continued their ancient dance, something fundamental had changed. The universe was no longer a place of isolated civilizations, but a complex, interconnected network of developing intelligence. Yuna looked out at the stars, understanding that her small act of research had become something much larger. A revolution of knowledge, quiet but profound, was spreading across the galaxy. Their journey was just beginning.